thick veil of fog clings to the rugged cliffs of Greenland, the air carrying the cold breath of the northern Atlantic, a reminder of the unforgiving landscape that birthed the saga of the Vikings. Here, where the dance of restless tides ebbs and flows against ancient stones, we encounter the echoes of a civilization that once roamed the seas with unfathomable ambition and unparalleled bravery. But beneath the striking beauty of this land lies an unsettling silence, a lingering question that haunts the remnants of their clans. What truly became of this once mighty empire? As morning light pierces the mist, one can almost hear the sharp clang of iron against iron, the drumbeat of longboats slicing through the waves. The Vikings, fierce navigators and explorers, were driven by an insatiable curiosity, traveling beyond the horizons of their frozen home to claim lands like the cruelly enchanting Isles of Orkney and the emerald shores of the British Isles. What drove them to venture forth into the unknown, where like gods of Norse mythology, unafraid of fate, they were compelled to take risks that would ultimately reshape their history. Picture the scene, sun-bleached beams drifting over wooden longhouses, the aroma of fish drying in thick salt air, each gust whispering secrets of distant shores. Scotty, a village elder, recounts tales by the flickering fire, weaving sagas of heroism and valor, instilling the hearts of generations with a profound sense of belonging to a grand narrative. But what happened when the fires of ambition flickered too low? What transpired in those remote settlements nestled beneath the steadfast gaze of glaciers and peaks that pierce the heavens? The Viking Age is marked by dramatic exploration and insatiable ambition, but it is also shadowed by an unsettling reality, a fragile equilibrium between triumph and despair. The narrative of their empire is littered with paradoxes. In places like the lush valleys of Greenland, where Viking settlers cultivated alfalfa and barley hemmed by the raw might of nature, they found both nourishment and an adversarial landscape. The symbiosis of life and death, of growth amid desolation, is a deeply human tale that resonates across eras and shores. Yet, as the very fabric of their existence began to unravel, what became of those who lived in the settlements prolonged in myth and reverence? Where did the children of this valiant race go when the formidable spirit of the Norse began to fade? In diving deeper, we peer into the layers of time, unearthing artifacts that tell stories long silenced by the whispers of history. The remnants of swords rusted and forgotten, the charred bones of livestock, the abandoned hearths that once flickered with vibrant life. Each find under the frost and earth serves as a grave marker in the enduring riddle of their demise. It's this juxtaposition that teeters on a knife edge, inviting us into profound contemplation. Did the Vikings, elegant in their seafaring prowess, fall prey to the very elements that had initially inspired their voyages? Was their end precipitated by the harsh hands of winter, or was it a tale of philosophical and social unraveling, simply a consequence of having pushed beyond the boundaries of culture and connection? The souls of the Viking settlers emerge as vessels of vulnerability, caught amidst the tide of fate and the hands of nature. Envision a winter where the spirits of the waves and the cold tears of the sky transformed the once bustling longhouses into somber shells of wood and memory, stood in silence like ghosts in the fog. Each settlement became a canvas for impending doom, whispered rumors of crops failing against the deepening chill. But were these mere environmental shifts, or a complex web spun of cultural disenchantment? As if their seafaring prowess became a double-edged sword, one that cut them free of their familiarity only to sever the ties that bound them to survival. To grasp the depths of this enigma, we must consider the intricate tapestry of human endeavor and fragility that characterizes the past. The Vikings were not unlike us. They too desired narrative, legacy, control, and permanence. Their ships, crafted and revered as floating fortresses, were more than vessels. They carried what was sacred, their tales, their beliefs, their very essence. And yet, standing on the precipice of the world, what does it mean to lose everything, to watch as your civilization slowly crumbles into the dark abyss of forgotten lore? A landscape shrouded in enigma beckons us, the horizon painted with war-torn ideologies, the relentless waves contrasting against the cliffs where Viking ships once docked with promise. Collective ambition carved the fearsome legacy of their past, yet buried deep within those layered stratas of history lies a haunting understanding of their human reality, a longing for connection, a fear of the elements, a struggle against an unforgiving fate. We are left with ghostly whispers that echo off the cragged cliffs and swirling winds. What lessons linger in the shadows of the past? How does the silence of a vanished empire resonate today within the refuse of our own ambitions, our own fears? Amidst this lingering fog, questions swirl around the narrative like the fading light. Were they obliterated by time or choice, a harbinger of human limitations amid insurmountable odds? As we move deeper into the heart of their story, we strive to untangle the threads that weave through history's fabric. With each archaeological discovery, from the relics resting quietly beneath frozen earth, we inch closer to understanding. The ancient Norse epitomized a grand ambition to set sail, to brave the unknown and push boundaries, but at what cost? What will the legacy of their dreams teach us as we navigate our own turbulent waters of ambition and uncertainty? In the shadows of exploration, where antiquity meets an unwritten future, we venture forth in search of that lost empire, navigating the complex interplay of human will and nature's inexorable hand. What awaited them on the distant shores, amidst the lush meadows and tempestuous seas? Each step takes us closer to unveiling the mystery that has captivated hearts and minds for millennia, a mystery just waiting to unfold beneath the weight of history, time, and resilience. As we peel back the layers of the Viking world, we find ourselves drawn into the vast, unyielding geography that shaped their very existence. The windswept fjords carved by ancient glaciers serve as not only a backdrop, but also a vital artery for life and livelihood. It is here in Norway, a land graced by towering peaks and deep valleys, that the heart of the Viking spirit began to beat. The fjords, cloaked in mystery and myth, were not merely conduits to the open seas. They offered shelter and abundance, allowing the Norsemen to cultivate agricultural practices that harmonized with the rhythms of the land. Imagine a village nestled between a jagged mountain range and the azure expanse of the sea, where the golden rays of sunlight kissed the shores at dawn. Children raced along the grassy banks, their laughter resonating like music through the valley, while elders tended to their storied fishing nets, their faces etched with the wisdom of generations. In this verdant setting, we discover the philosophical undercurrents of Norse mythology, where gods and goddesses, from the mighty Odin to the resilient Freyja, embodied the ambitions and foibles of humankind itself. Every tale recounted around the flickering fires reflected the values of a society at a crossroads, balancing the ferocity of nature with the quest for power and stability. The Norse believed in a world shaped by fate, a mental landscape filled with both uncertainty and resolve, a paradoxical philosophy that propelled them forward into treacherous waters. Yet beneath their resolute surface lay a web of complexity, hinting at the unseen pressures that would eventually test their resolve. As Viking ships embarked into the bracing ocean depths, they carried not just warriors but merchants and craftsmen, navigating trade routes that would link disparate cultures in an unprecedented exchange of goods and ideas. The allure of vibrant towns, like those in the British Isles, and the rich markets of Constantinople, drew them like moths to a flame. Cinnamon, silk, and spices flowed into their world, mingling into their daily lives. Each unfamiliar sent a reminder of boundless potential and opportunity. But this thirst for trade came at a price, for with every alliance formed, the shadows of ambition intensified, intertwining their fate with that of civilizations far beyond their fjords. Throughout the Viking Age, tensions simmered beneath the surface, with clans jockeying for power and status. Craftsmanship flourished, with blacksmiths forging weapons that shimmered seductively under the light, while artisans crafted exquisite jewelry that awed all who beheld it. Yet the same ambition that fostered creativity also sowed seeds of jealousy, mistrust, and competition, spurring internal conflicts that gradually fractured once unified communities. The voyage from peaceful settlement to chaos felt like a somber rite of passage, resonating with profound implications about the fragile state that marked human history. Diving into the heart of Viking society, we witnessed the intricacies of daily life, where familial bonds entwined with societal obligations. Sons learned the ways of their fathers, while daughters were nurtured in the crafts of home management, skills integral to the family and community's survival. A matriarch we might envision choreographed the rhythms of life, her hands roughened by labor yet tender as she nurtured the next generation. But even within this tapestry of existence, underlying tensions could not be ignored. How to balance the demands of honor with the necessity of survival. War was woven into their identity, an ambivalent legacy of valor and viciousness that both defined and threatened their way of life. As the long winter months encroached, hunger and desperation could lead even the most steadfast of individuals to consider darker paths in search of sustenance. Religious beliefs also ebbed and flowed within Viking culture. They worshipped a pantheon that mirrored the complexities of their own reality, an interplay of strength, sacrifice, and destiny. Sacrifices made to appease the gods depicted fierce devotion, yet one must ponder the toll of such faith. The intangible threads of spirituality tethered the population to an intricate web of purpose, as they sought the favor of Odin or the touch of Freyja to secure bountiful harvests or success in raiding endeavors. Amidst these narratives of perseverance and aspiration arose the first signs of impending turmoil. Connections with the Christian West began to create ripples of change, and as the Viking spirit soared toward distant lands, so too did encounters with foreign ideologies that would pose challenges to their own belief system. The clashing of cultures rolled through the seas like an approaching storm, igniting tensions that gradually eclipsed their fierce independence. It is a delicate balance, the marriage of ambition and culture, fraught with both opportunity and peril. As Viking longboats traced the shimmering horizons, Tales of discovery mingled with whispers of conflict, each journey unlocking a new possibility while simultaneously teetering on the brink of chaos. From the fertile soil of Greenland to the rocky shores of Iceland, settlements flourished, each encampment a manifestation of a shared dream. Yet the relentless pursuit of expansion risked fracturing the very fabric that held them together, creating a fissure that, unbeknownst to them, would widen with every passing generation. The audacity that drove these explorers to the edges of the earth reveals a dual nature, the push for discovery entwined with a harrowing fragility. As each settlement emerged buoyed by hope and prosperity, an unsettling question lingered just beyond the waves. Could the very ambitions that propelled them toward greatness also lead to their undoing? Each daring voyage into unknown waters sparked new narratives, yet the soft but unmistakable whispers of caution rang true. For every triumphant conquest, histories hinted at inevitable loss. The paradox of ambition, the very pillar upon which Viking identity stood, came under scrutiny as political systems began shifting, alliances formed, and allegiances tested. The internal struggles within the Viking clans mirrored the great battles fought on the seas, a reflection of the tumult brewing in their homes, signaling that change was imminent. A world of formidable structures was possible, yet it rested precariously on a foundation of discontent that few listened to as they sailed forth into the vastness of the unknown. Thus, we arrive to contemplate the question that circles above the heads of these valiant souls, eternally searching for answers. What became of the strength, the bravery, the resolve that defined the Viking spirit? Or perhaps more poignantly, what deeper forces of nature and humanity conspired to bring this empire to its knees? As we glide through the swirling currents of time, the tale of the Viking destiny unfolds, a narrative rich with discovery, tinged with the urgency of survival, echoing through the valleys of history, whispered ever so softly amid the myriad landscapes they touched. As we journey forward deeper, unraveling this tapestry woven rich with aspirations and human vulnerability, we can feel the pulse of history beat stronger, the winds of fate twisting as they carry the echoes of a lost legacy that still reverberates across the ages. For amid all the ambition and struggle, we are reminded that there lies within the heart of every civilization a story yearning to be told. The question is never if it will fade into memory, but how it will ultimately shape the very essence of humanity that follows. As the glimmering sun rises over the rugged coastline of a Viking settlement, the day begins as a symphony of sound, the rhythmic lapping of waves against wooden hulls, the distant laughter of children at play, and the hearty clamor of trade manifesting in thrumming marketplaces surrounded by stout homes of timber and thatch. Each dwelling, adorned with ornate carvings that tell stories of gods and heroes, stands resolutely against the salty winds, a testament to the craftsmanship that defined this vibrant society. Here, in this intimate tableau of ordinary life, we find reflections of human nature, resilience mingling with vulnerability within a melting pot of ambition and tradition, commerce and kinship. Within these thriving communities, we are swept into the daily routines of ordinary families struggling for sustenance while cradling hope for a brighter future. Picture, if you will, a woman gathering the remnants of the previous night's feast, her skilled hands kneading dough for bread, a staple that unites the clan. The air is fragrant with the earthy aroma of newly harvested grains, infused with the warmth of her small clay oven as it bursts to life with flickering flames. Her children, clad in rough-spun woolen garments, flit about the cottage, as bright as the wildflowers that bloom thus far into summer. With laughter they mimic their fathers, cloaked in imaginary armor wielding sticks as swords, their youthful spirits brimming with the adventurer's heart. This moment of vibrant simplicity belies the complexity of lives interwoven with responsibilities that stretch beyond mere survival. The Viking household was a microcosm of society, where each member played a vital role. The men went to sea, bringing back not only fish but tales of distant lands, while women managed the hearth and nurtured children, ensuring tradition was not lost between generations. Family structures reflected the very essence of loyalty and honor, though ever present were the tensions that arose from the necessity of strength and the burdens it placed on the shoulders of the individual. As the day now unfolds, you can hear the crackling of fire pits where families gather, stories and legends intertwined in the evening air, sparking an intense longing to explore what lies beyond the horizon. Here is the place where Norse mythology fuels their spirit. Odin's wisdom and Thor's bravery guide their aspirations and fears, while Freyja stirs in them a sense of earthly belonging. Rituals integral to their existence echo through time, connecting the kin with ancestors. The sacredness of their beliefs spills into the very fabric of daily life, intertwining sacred with the mundane, as offerings made to the gods become intertwined with the simplicity of bread baking and the joy of communal spirit. These homes, mere structures of wood and clay, transformed into sanctuaries of community and culture, reveal layers of ritual and purpose. We might find ourselves participating in feasts, where tables laden with the bounty of the sea, smoked fish, wild berries, and robust meats, tell stories of the land while nourishing bodies. As songs rise alongside mead-filled mugs, we absorb the warmth of togetherness, reflecting a desire to belong, to share, to etch memories into the very essence of their being. Yet even as we embrace this joyful assembly, a subtle shadow hangs in the air, whispering questions of security and the fragility of peace. In the months when the fjords glisten under the midnight sun, farming yields vibrant crops, and bright splashes of color adorn their garments. Materials woven from homespun fabrics dyed with natural pigments, each hue telling its own story of place and time. The colorful tunics and dresses are more than mere attire. They reflect the intricate social hierarchies within the community. The opulence of beads and furs speaks of status, while the simplicity of woolen shawls echoes the resilience of those who toil. And yet this vibrancy contrasts sharply with the harsh winters. When the sun retreats and the landscape turns to a biting, wintry silence, the feeling of dread begins to creep into their hearts. The threat of famine lies just beyond the snow-blanketed horizon, casting a pall over even the most spirited of gatherings, drawing families in closer around flickering fires, sharing warmth amongst the flickering shadows. Religion, too, resonates through their choices and actions, seeping into the very blood of their culture. The sacred observances of the summer solstice, where stone circles serve as ancient altars, become spaces of convergence for prayers and pledges, illuminating their yearning for divine favor amidst the chaos of existence. Upon these revered grounds, they gather with humble offerings of grain, perhaps a captured animal or a hand-woven cloth dyed vibrant hues, each gift intertwined with fervent wishes for prosperity and protection. Root of uncertainty lies ahead as whispers of Christianity weave through their stories of valor, threatening to disrupt the delicate balance of belief and culture long established. Yet within this intricate tapestry, we must pause to understand that the very challenges they face reflect the human condition, a dance of contradiction, resilience entwined with ambition, and hope shadowed by dread. The ambitions spurred explorations that were at first expressions of aspiration, but as knowledge of distant lands bred contact with other peoples, so too did vulnerability arise. The Viking people, once fierce and proud, would soon come face to face with ideological and existential crises that would pit their roots against a worldview now encroaching on their shores. Through moments of idyllic farming, of joyous laughter and sacred rites, we glimpse tensions simmering just beneath the idyllic surface. The call to adventure lies tangled with forces of competition and conflict that appear inevitable, longings for discovery giving rise to the stark realities of conquest. For every new land claimed, each foreign culture encountered, a reminder of not just exploration but threat emerges. The whispers of power, politics, and ambitions of leaders now intertwine their destinies as figures emerge with grand visions. The mighty chieftains, once guardians of their clans, transform into ambitious leaders whose aspirations stretch well beyond the rugged terrains they have traversed. Yet even in this epoch of ambition and transformation, the emotional landscape is not easily discernible, marked by uncertainty and the hum of fear that curls within the heart of a civilization poised for greatness. The tension between loyalty to kin and the expansive promise of exploration adds weight, resonating with the unspoken, lingering question, at what cost does ambition come? Thus, upon these windswept shores and within these robust wooden halls, we perceive the vibrant tapestry of existence fraught with complexities of human nature as they extend their reach beyond familiar horizons. Interwoven into this audiovisual narrative are the threads of labor, faith, and the haunting specter of consequence. The tapestry stretches toward an inevitable confrontation, a realization that as new shores are claimed and new alliances forged, their ambitious sails may carry them to the brink of unknown outcomes. Thus, as the soft winds gently sway the boats moored in the harbor, behind the simplicity of everyday life, the complex interplay of human aspiration, struggle, and vulnerability emerges. As we delve deeper into the very moments that feel alive, we invite reflection on the choices they made, issues of survival in the face of grace, the balance of power, and the echoes of strong familial bonds that mark a society forever caught in the weaving of fateful threads. The Viking spirit thus emerges, not as solitary, but as a kaleidoscope of interlocking narratives that whisper timeless truths of ambition, its allure, and the shadows it casts across the expanse of time. As we navigate the unfolding saga of the Viking Age, we can sense the rippling tensions at play, a quiet churn of desires and ambitions pressing against the confines of established norms. Far beyond the windswept fjords and resilient settlements lies a world thick with the promise of discovery, those insatiable calls to sail beyond the known waters to lands where fertile soils could yield abundantly, and resources awaited the curious. Driven by a restless spirit and the ambition of exploration, it is easy to see how leaders began to emerge, not simply as chieftains of clans, but as architects of expansive visions. Among them was Eric the Red, a paragon of ambition whose tales of finding a verdant land called Greenland ignited imaginations and spurred many to embark upon daring voyages. Eric, both bold and brash, would urge his kin to venture into the unknown, drawn by idyllic prospects that lay just beyond the horizon. Yet this was no simple journey fueled only by the lure of prosperity. It was layered with intricate realities of leadership, fraught with the desire for glory that often blinded reason. Each voyage across the tempestuous seas demanded not just expertise in navigation, but also intimate knowledge of maritime politics and fragile alliances within the chains of kinship. The sea, as they knew it, was both a provider and a predator, holding secrets that could elevate a clan to catharsis or plunge them into turmoil, a conduit of both opportunity and peril. As ships braved the unpredictable currents of the North Atlantic, the vantage point shifts, capturing not just the ambition of discovery but the burgeoning interactions among vastly different peoples. The tribes they encountered would not remain mere subjects of their narrative. These encounters became cauldrons of exchange, ideas, goods, and cultures intertwined as shields clashed against blades of desire and conquest. Each conquest told stories of bravery, but they also foreshadowed tensions between the Viking ethos of individuality and the communal fabric of newly encountered societies. In those very moments, as valleys echoed with the clash of arms and cries of warriors, the ideological undercurrents began their tumultuous rise. With the arrival of Christianity, whispers of faith began to infiltrate Viking settlements, unfurling a delicate parchment upon which the tensions between established beliefs and novel ideologies would be written. For some, this new faith poured like morning light over old practices, while for others it heralded a storm, a threat to ancestral lineage and the deeply woven traditions that had, for generations, defined their very existence. As Viking society tightened around an ever-increasing number of factions, powerful figures thrust themselves into the center of this maelstrom. Kings and chieftains, ambitious to brand their legacies across the maps of history. Their ambitions overshadowed every step, yet they could not foresee the consequences lying embedded in their fervor. There is no denying the weight of ambition itself, a powerful and often insatiable force, wrapped in a tapestry of desires that strayed far from honorable pursuits. The quest to establish dominance bred relentless conflict, setting clans against each other in a tragic dance where alliances would shift as rapidly as the unpredictable tides they navigated. Even as rivalries flourished, so did the practices of reform. The Vikings began forging structured governing bodies, a pivotal shift from disparate clans toward an authoritative framework that managed disputes and unified efforts against external threats. The tribunal meetings of the Thing, marked by communal deliberation and a unique blend of hierarchy and egalitarianism, elucidated the complexities within their society. These assemblies lent legitimacy to laws, yet each decision was laced with underlying tensions, a play of power dynamics revealing a society hungering for strength, yet often compelled to bow under communal expectations. Yet in moments of reflection, we can ask ourselves how the ordinary lives intertwined with these grand narratives. The pressures arising from external ambitions echoed within the homes of Viking families. They felt the ground shake beneath their feet with every decision made by the powerful. There, in the shadows of these tumultuous changes, the specters of fear mingled with hope. What would become of their ways? Would the sons inherit the strength of their forebears or the schisms of emerging ideologies that defied familial ties? Just as the wheels of history turned, unforeseen circumstances brewed below the surface, ready to unleash unforeseen challenges that would confront the burgeoning Viking identity. Climate, once a steadfast ally, began to conspire against them, a shift toward harsher realities. The cooling temperatures of the Little Ice Age crept into their lives, bringing snowy winters that loomed larger every year, as crop yields diminished and hunger began to gnaw at the very fabric of society. Families who had once thrived in the fertile lands of Greenland and the east coast of North America now contended with scarcity, their reliance on age-old agricultural practices questioned by dwindling resources. Social tests stirred unrest as survival dictated choices that diverged from shared values. Communities that were once bastions of collective strength confronted deep fractures, a clash of ideologies rearing its head once more. Hardships revealed divisions that reached beyond loss of harvest. Tales of pride painted the legacy of Vikings, but those same narratives were now haunted by the specter of vulnerability. Families faced dire choices, driven to seek out alternative fates in new territories that promised refuge from the clutches of despair. Yet as they drifted, guidance often came from unexpected avenues. Their innate connection to the ocean led them to journey deeper into foreign lands, where narratives morphed and merged into a kaleidoscope of experiences. The world beyond their shores now beckoned to them, but the lure of the unknown shimmered against a backdrop of uncertainty. The quest for settlement revealed a paradox of belonging amidst foreign paradigms. Thus, like the ocean waves shifting against the shoreline, Viking ambitions morphed, pushed into new patterns, one step beyond. Their daring explorations now began to take on a different character. No longer solely defined by maritime conquest for resources, they began to engage in trade agreements, weaving expansive networks that extended from the icy Great of Scandinavia to the vibrant markets of the Mediterranean. However, amidst these new connections lay the echoes of discontent. Beneath the shimmering surface, ideological conflicts continued to smolder, fueled by the very essence of exploration. They intersected with the ideologies that ushered in change, both a blessing and a curse, clouding the very essence of a proud lineage as the flames of ambition transformed into shadows of discord. Each new convention invited whispers of influence, seducing leaders drawn into the labyrinth of a world now precarious and fragile. And as Viking ships dotted the horizon, carrying with them tales of both triumphs and tragedies, we come to grips with the realization that history is not merely a chronicle of events, but a tapestry of experiences layered in emotional depth. These threads, each bearing the imprints of personal dreams and losses, converge on the shores of time, inviting us to ponder the consequences of human ambition. The question remains, how does a civilization once celebrated for its strength and unity become ensnared in the very decisions that promised their ascent? Thus the stage was set. As storms brewed and histories clashed, we sensed an impending transformation, a reckoning of sorts, as the very identities of the Vikings, rigid and unyielding, must now confront the realities of change threatening to unravel the tapestry they held dear. The ripples of ambition have long since coalesced into an impending transformation that hints at both vulnerability and resilience, leaving us to brave the currents as we delve deeper into the very heart of a civilization on the brink. As the North Atlantic winds rise, we stand within this emotional interstice, prepared to explore how the narrative unfolds, a story marked by triumph and tragedy, by the ambitions that carve out identities and the very fabric of community tested by unyielding change. Each breath taken becomes a heartbeat in unraveling a legacy, writing the next chapters among the undulating waves of history where the Vikings journey onward, even as shadows loom overhead, shaping a path that leads them toward a realm of uncertainty, a destiny woven into the very fabric of their existence. As we sail further into the currents of Viking history, we feel the tides shifting. The vibrant tapestry of their ambitions begins to unravel, revealing the fragility that lies beneath those once sturdy vessels. The rising conflict, both internal and external, stirred a pot of social dynamics that felt increasingly unstable. With each new encounter, the Vikings found themselves transformed, not just by the territories they explored, but by the intricate dance of ideas and peoples, the exchanges that would slowly shape the contours of their identity. Amidst the expanse of the North Atlantic, the Viking legacy began to exhibit cracks, the first signs of fragmentation, seen through the lens of socio-political upheaval and cultural shifts. These once indomitable warriors, navigating through realms of both commerce and conflict, found their world morphing with every harsh winter's breath that passed through their settlements. The harsh grip of the elements, bearing down on crops and communities alike, resonated through their daily lives, reshaping the very foundation of their existence. In the face of dwindling harvests, desperation painted a picture of internal strife as families splintered under the pressure, struggling to hold on to ancient ways amidst the onslaught of change. Disillusioned, some wandered farther from their ancestral lands into territories where their very identity came to be contested. The stories of their grand explorations persisted, yet shadows lurked in the corners, waiting to emerge, whispers of doubt festering, casting a pallor over moments once marked by courage. The unwavering bravery that had forged their reputation was faltering, now emboldened by uncertainty and instability, giving way to anxiety. As decisions turned to desperation, social bonds began fraying, colleges of kinship collapsing under the weight of survival. In their attempts to navigate these treacherous waters, the Vikings found themselves reflecting on their ideals, questioning the very principles that had once defined their strength. With these landscapes shifting before their very eyes, Viking leaders were compelled to adapt, tethering together the efforts of diverse factions into a semblance of governance. The thing that revered assembly, often heralded as a cornerstone of Viking democracy, began to echo a different kind of deliberation, a discourse laced with not just the ambition for power, but also the bitter tang of survival. There, amidst this confluence of voices, everyone sought out common ground while grappling with the emerging contradictions threatening the very integrity of their culture. What became evident as communities felt the weight of deprivation was that discussions around power, allegiance, and ideology grew increasingly fraught. The ideals of leadership now collided with harsh realities, creating an environment where urgent choices could signify the difference between survival and loss. It is within this emotional crucible that we catch glimpses of ordinary lives wrought with profound transformation. Men and women with dreams and aspirations shaped by inherited legacies found themselves attempting to reconcile who they were with the world unraveling around them. Each day posed questions that weighed heavier than the last. What does it mean to be a Viking now? As time stretched forward relentlessly, profound uncertainty began enveloping society as they clung to memories of what once was, a time when the horizon gleamed with promise, now layered with doubt. As seasons passed, each cycle marking the slow decay of certainty, the impact of climate continued striking the heart of Viking settlements. The onset of the Little Ice Age was neither sudden nor gentle, manifesting in colder seasons that eroded the very rhythms of life. Gone were the days when rich harvests flowed freely, replaced by frostbitten fields and empty granaries. Stories of prosperity seemed like distant whispers, haunting the edges of recollection, the comforting legends of yore rapidly transforming into reminders of glory that now eluded them. As the chill seeped into their bones, it also crept into the psyche of a civilization once filled with vigor. The echoes of a once fertile land slowly induced a collective memory of loss, where aspirations became shadowed by the harsh realities of survival. Rising from the ashes of this despair was a fierce ramification of adaptation. As the landscape shifted both literally and figuratively, Viking communities began unearthing creative strategies, innovating new practices grounded not only in resilience but also in the necessity to reorganize daily existence. Trade routes extended farther, and engagements with neighboring cultures birthed a new lexicon, an amalgam of practices and ideas. So too did the very concept of home evolve, not as a geographic place steadfastly rooted in one's identity, but as a fluid concept made richer by diverse encounters. The Viking ethos morphed, transforming the warriors into merchants and diplomats, even as they grappled with the psychological scars left by a past cloaked in glory. Yet, even amidst the currents of life pulling them into a vast ocean of transformation, the memories of their former ideals refused to vanish entirely. Each decision etched indelible marks upon the collective consciousness. Even at the darkest hour, rumors of past conquests lingered, a haunting reminder that greatness came at a price. As the Viking identity navigated changing landscapes, both socio-political and emotional, a parallel narrative unfolded, intertwining personal stories with the larger saga of survival. Families endured, traversing the undulating tides with both grace and turmoil, as generations carved out new identities reflected not only in bloodline, but also in the shared experiences of perseverance. The question of what it means to fade into history began to nod rather poignantly. As time wore on, more factions arose, either rebelling against the ideals they had once held dear or conforming to a paradigm of newfound identity, the strands of Viking culture unspooling, ever so slightly, while societal cohesion began fragmenting from internal pressures and external challenges. In the labyrinth of ever-shifting allegiances, remnants of understanding persisted through narratives of kinship and shared struggle. Yet empires crumble, an inevitable truth etched into the annals of time, conflicts with Christian kingdoms, the birth of new alliances, and raids giving way to settlements tied together by treaties spun a complex web. As the once mighty Viking fleets raced through turbulent waters, we find ourselves drifting toward an uncomfortable juncture, a turning point where the stories of a thriving civilization gave way to something indefinable. The whispers of loss grew louder, clashing harmoniously with the echoes of ambition, a symphony now marked by dissonance. Memories dwelled in the shadows, yearning for acknowledgement while the tangible remnants of their legacy lay scattered across the shores of lands they once dared to claim. Irony begets fate, and as whispers morphed into roars, we trace the lineage of a history teetering on the brink, a civilization that dared to embrace expansion yet became ensnared in its consequences. The Viking world, a realm once emblematic of fierce independence, now finds itself at the nexus of re-evaluation, each soul wrestling with the complexities of moving forward while honoring the weight of their heritage, paving the way for an uncertain legacy. Amidst the swirling eddies of change, we discover the emotional strife embedded beneath the surface, a poignant reminder that the world they sought to dominate now reveals itself as an intricate tapestry woven with strands of resilience and loss. As the winds howled and waves lapped against their beleaguered ships, the Viking spirit began to echo more somberly, reverberating through the annals of time, a poignant testament to the ebb and flow of their existence. Looking into the horizon now, we find the shadows lengthening. They're not mere specters of the past, but looming reminders of what is still to come, standing like sentinels of history, entangled in the intricate dance of decline. In our quest for understanding, we must recognize that the very essence of the Viking legacy metamorphoses before us, revealing an indelible truth. What remains even after decline is a fervent pulse, an intricate memory eternally moving through time, waiting to unfold patiently in our collective gaze. As we stand upon the threshold of time, we witness how the legacies of the Viking world ripple gently across the surface of history, a tapestry stretching far beyond mere conquests and voyages. The whispers of these Norse navigators, their fierce ambition and relentless pursuit of glory, have evolved into stories that resonate to this day, woven into the very fabric of cultures that followed. Yet in those echoes lies a profound silence, a reminder of the weight of memory that mingles with the untouched landscapes they once traversed, and a haunting question lingers: what does it mean to leave a mark upon the world when the world itself is ever-changing? The remnants of the Viking Empire, scattered like shards of once vibrant pottery across the shores of modernity, continue to speak, albeit softly. Look closely at the rocky cliffs that cradle the shores of Greenland, and through the stark silhouettes of abandoned settlements, there resides an intimate echo of lives lived, families gathering for celebration and mourning, minds engaged in fervent debates within the hallowed halls of the Thing. Today, however, those structures stand as haunting reminders rather than vibrant centers of civilization. Their walls adorned with the dust of time. Civilization ebbs and flows like the tide, and the places once bustling with the sweet sounds of camaraderie now fall silent, as if mourning the loss of stories left untold. Yet memories linger. The Viking Age may be marked by the destruction and loss of identity, but from this darkness emerged a resilience that shaped the contours of subsequent cultures. As the sun rises over the fjords, casting golden hues upon the rippling waters, we find reflections of adapting societies molded by Viking ideals. The very essence of exploration, travel, and adventure passed into the narratives of later generations, whispers of seafaring woven not just into myth but into the sinews of modern nations, fostering communities forged through brave journeys, technological innovation, and the spirit of encounter. Think of the child standing by the icy banks of a fjord today, the blood of Vikings coursing through their veins yet tethered to a distant memory. They gaze over the landscape, their ancestors' tales shimmering in the brisk air, both familiar and foreign. What then do they take from these encounters? What remnants of Viking ambition do they carry forward in a world that threatens to forget? The exploration into the heart of this legacy unveils not merely an acknowledgement of past conquests, but rather an intricate web of cultural survival, a testament to the strength of human nature, the willingness to forge connections, to adapt, to bridge divides and forge paths through the labyrinth of time. The legacy of this once mighty empire sprawls across Europe, leaving indelible marks on language, governance, and customs. Echoes of Viking influence resonate not just in folklore, but also in the marketplaces and gathering spaces where communities thrive, enlivened by shared stories that transcend generations. The passage of time often lends itself to reinterpretation, and while the romanticism of the Viking warrior is still celebrated, today's societies also grapple with the more nuanced reality of their existence, a complexity interwoven with honor and conflict, survival and ambition. Thus, the question remains, how is it that history remembers the past, and how do the echoes of history shape our understanding of ourselves today? The silence within the ruins tells its own story. As we tread lightly over the frozen landscapes, we become acutely aware that beneath the surface lies a rich heritage, a melange of cultural practices rooted deep within the soil, a way of life forged from struggle, celebration, and heartbreak. Sitting in the remnants of old stones, we feel the pulse of time nurtured within their cracks, a deep understanding that even the mightiest can be reduced to dust, yet still leave behind an echo, a melody folded into the chronicles of existence itself. This understanding invites us to wrap ourselves in the broader rhythms of human history, revealing the quiet persistence of survival that reverberates through the valleys of time. While the world may have shifted and transformed, the core principles that the Vikings held dear, the importance of family, honor, and community, continue to resonate today, bridging generations and cultures in ways both profound and subtle. The nostalgia for what once was shapes our narratives, nurtures our ambitions, prompting us to reflect on our own journeys as we navigate the complexities of modern existence. In a world fraught with uncertainty, the spirit of exploration and adventure embedded in the Viking ethos beckons us to voyage forth, to embrace the unknown, and to recall that we too are part of this vast and intricate tapestry connected across time. So as we capture the imagery of moss-covered stones nestled within the dense embrace of the northern forests, each rock a silent witness to the lives that once flourished around it, we begin to grasp the intricate interplay of history and memory. The forests stand tall, unyielding in their stance, as they have witnessed the passage of seasons, years, and epochs. Here we find solace in recognizing that history does not merely vanish, rather it exists in layers, waiting to be unearthed, each revelation offering insight while refracting the light of understanding through the prism of human experience, memory, and legacy. We must remember that the tales of Viking ambition are not solely stories of defeat. They are reminders that while physical empires may crumble, their spirits can endure, echoing through the corridors of time. Between the ruins and the open skies, the connections we form with nature, ourselves, and our past serve a purpose, illuminating the path towards a harmonious future. In every sunrise over those ancient shores, in every dancer's footfall on folklore festivals, in the craft of artisans who weave contemporary manifestations of Viking design, we carry forward the essence of those who roamed and explored, who loved and lost, wherever their journeys may have taken them. And there lies a gentle essence of a truth we cannot ignore. While civilizations morph and fade, absorbed into the ever-rolling tide of human experience, their legacies linger in the shared breath of life, in the art of storytelling that transcends borders, prompting us to reflect as we strive toward awakening and understanding. These echoes, this resonance of an ancient heritage, beckon us to ask ourselves, as we embrace the dawn of each new day, what are we creating from our collective histories? How will our legacies unfold into the fabric of future existence? As we draw our gaze back toward the infinite horizon, we can no longer hold or fully grasp what we cannot see, yet we can sense the weight of history, nestled within the lull of the present, casting gentle shadows that lead us forward. The quiet persistence of their legacy remains, silently carving its passage through time, as we ponder the connections that bind us to those who came before, a testament to the fact that while the Viking Empire has receded like the tide, its spirit remains ever present, tinged with the mystery of life itself. So we bid farewell to this monumental journey, allowing the echoes of the past to merge seamlessly with the rhythms of our present. The night begins to cast its veil, enveloping the landscapes that bore the ambition of Viking hearts, each silent whisper building a bridge toward understanding that transcends generations. As the evening sky darkens, we remain steeped in quiet contemplation of the profound lessons born from earthen legacies, gentle reminders that the essence of humanity continues to intertwine with that of ages gone by. In the stillness of the night, we find ourselves amongst an eternal cadence of memory, a reminder that the people are gone, yet their world still quietly echoes through ours. The traces of their journeys shimmer softly among the stars, guiding us as we reflect on a history rich with complexity, woven not solely from glory but deeply nourished by humanity itself. Such is the beauty of a legacy, quietly resonating in all that we are and all that we shall become.